Mark and Debby Constantino were well-known paranormal investigators who appeared regularly on the popular television show Ghost Adventures. While they gained fame for their expertise in communicating with the dead through EVP, their marriage was plagued by controlling behavior and intense jealousy.
Over time, their relationship deteriorated, and Debby filed for divorce in August of 2015, citing a history of domestic abuse.
Despite the separation, tensions between the two continued. On September 22, 2015, Mark kidnapped Debby and shot and killed her roommate, James Anderson.
Mark barricaded himself and Debby in an apartment, leading to a tense standoff with police and SWAT. After hours of negotiation, Mark tragically shot and killed Debby before turning the gun on himself.
Their deaths shocked not only the paranormal community, but also raised awareness about the hidden dangers of domestic violence.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Sherry. Welcome back to Alleged Actually podcast. Today we have a very, very special episode. I am joined by my guest co-host today, Sean, and the one and only John from Sins and Survivors, a Las Vegas true crime podcast. Thank you guys for being with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And we are also honored to have our special guest who will be interviewing Mrs. Janice Oberding. She is a historian, a true crime buff, and paranormal enthusiast and investigator. She has authored over 30 books covering a range of topics, including ghosts, true crime, history, and the unusual. Her work primarily focuses on California and Nevada, reflecting her upbringing in those states. In 2001, Janice launched the History Mystery Ghost Walk, also known as Biggest Little City Ghost Walk in downtown Reno, inspired by her book, Infamous Reno. The following year, she played a key role in developing Truckee Meadows Community College's paranormal series, which began as a one-day conference and continues to thrive with Janice actively involved. She's a sought-after public speaker. Janice presents across the country and has appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries. Her collaborations include work with networks such as the Sci-Fi Channel, the History Channel, Living TV, and Travel Channel. Notably, she is featured in episodes of Dead Famous, Scariest Places on Earth, and Ghost Adventures. Janice has a unique distinction. She is one of the few individuals to have spent an entire night at Alcatraz. And not just once, y'all, 3 times. One of her most memorable experiences was participating in the Ghost Hunters Alcatraz episode alongside Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson. Welcome to the show, Janice. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you, Sherry, for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we know that this is your busy time, and so we want to get right into this interview. We have so many questions for you. I'm going to kick it off. I wanted to ask, what is the most chilling or unexplained event you've ever experienced while ghost hunting?
Well, I've thought about that a lot. Of course, there's been a few, but the one would actually have been with Mark and Debby, and we were in Georgia, and a friend took us to a cemetery we weren't really supposed to go to, but we didn't know that at the time. And the sand, the dirt or whatever, is really thick. Red sand was sticking to our shoes. It was really eerie. A full moon. I believe it was a former slave cemetery, the Noonday Cemetery, and people aren't supposed to be in there after dark. So we're in there, and we're with the local ghost group. And I'm going to add here, because I think it's important to add this. Debby and I weren't drinking. No drinking involved. We don't do that when we ghost hunt. But she's smiling. Some people do, I know. But anyway, we look off in the distance and we see a tree about 4 foot tall, like a Christmas tree. And we're staring at it. And then the thing seems to get closer and closer, closer. And Debbie says to me, "Do you see that?" And I said, "Yeah, I see it." And we're watching. And then all of a sudden, the tree turns into like this horrible, hideous little, I want to say gargoyle or something. And Debbie said to me, "Do you see it now?" I said, "Yeah, I see it." "Well, what do you think we should do?" "Let's run." So we ran out of that cemetery, making fools out of every ghost investigator from Nevada, I'm sure. But it was pretty unnerving because you don't expect something like that. Yet we saw it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So what are some clues, like some signs or feelings that you look for to know that a location may have something paranormal going on?
Well, I think I'm going to say what I believe most every ghost investigator does. I use, like, we use recorder, camera, SLS camera, but I actually go by my gut feeling. And then if I go into a place and there's a feeling about the place, and you know what I mean, it's like it's not quite right. I guess that's the best way to say it. There's something little bit off here. Then that, to me, leads me to believe that there is something going on there.
So it's like a gut feeling. You get some kind of eerie vibe or something is unsettling to you. Yeah,
Yes.
that's how you describe it. Has anyone ever tried to trick you or prank you by making up a story about a haunting?
No one's ever done that to me. I'm going to knock on wood here that they never
Okay.
do. No one's ever done it. The weirdest thing I had was actually happened in the Las Vegas area, was in Henderson, and this has been over 20 years ago. We were doing a daytime investigation, and it had to have been 100 degrees or more outside. It was so hot. And these people didn't have air conditioner. And it's a home. It's why to this day I don't like home investigations. Anyway, we're doing this investigation. The people who live there have told us what they're experiencing and what we're looking for. And I guess she was the grandmother, was quite elderly. I'm going to guess right at maybe a hunch. She was quite elderly. And she's following us around saying, "Are you going to pay us when you find a ghost?" "No." "Are you going to call the news media when you find a ghost?" "Nope." So I got the feeling, I didn't want to investigate anymore there, because I got the feeling we might be being set up. And this lady knew it to a degree. Not that she was involved with setting us up, but that kind of really turned me off to home investigations.
Could see that.
It sounds like you got pretty good at reading the room.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know you're an expert and you're an instructor in these kinds of techniques. So what advice do you have for people who want to get into ghost hunting? Where do you get started?
I'm going to tell you, Sean. Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I don't believe any of us are experts. I don't care if you've been in this 100 years. There's always something you can learn. You've been investigating 20, 30. Here comes somebody new who can teach you something or show you something or develop equipment or something that you never even thought of. So I don't really believe there's any experts except for dead people. That said, I believe that's the best advice, is to keep an open mind. It really bothers me if I see people and they come in with a lot of equipment, which is fine and dandy, but they come in with the attitude, "I know because I have this, and I know more because I've been doing this a long time." No, you don't. Keep an open mind. There's always something more to learn. If you're getting in this, try and get involved with people who aren't saying my way's the only way. Get involved with people who say, "You know what, this is an experiment, this adventure, none of it yet. So let's just get in here and try to learn what we can." That would be my best advice.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's always a good way to approach learning. Those are the best environments to learn in, where you're teaching and learning at the same time.
Yeah, staying humble.
Yes.
Always knowing there's something new to learn. So if there was one place that you would recommend for amateur ghost hunters, Sean and I, if we wanted to go on a mini ghost hunting trip, as a must-visit place, what would that be? It doesn't have to be Nevada, but bonus points for Nevada because that's where we are.
Well, as a Nevadan, my mind right away goes to the Goldfield Hotel because I think it's really, really active. And it's a strange place because I've been in there all times, day and night. You go in there, brought people in there in the daytime, during the daytime, and they will say, this isn't haunted. When it goes down, the whole thing changes. And it's not necessarily, I don't really want to use the word negative, so I'll just say it's not exactly a positive change that takes place. The Goldfield, and then I have to say the Myrtles in Georgia too, because I've had some good experiences at the Myrtles, and that's number one Goldfield Hotel in Nevada.
I'm gonna go off script just a little bit. We took a trip a few years back to Tonopah, and there are some cemeteries there where people are buried from a really tragic fire that happened in the early 1900s next to an absolutely terrifying, unsure about its history, but the Clown Motel, which I'm sure you've heard of. But right behind the Clown Motel is this cemetery, and I wondered if, what experiences you've had in if you've ever done any ghost hunting adventures in Tonopah, which I know is not too far from Goldfield.
Yeah, I love Goldfield. I've done that cemetery at the Mizpah and the Belvada, which at the time, and I'm not sure now, had the same owner. And when they built the Belvada, they didn't build it, excuse me, when they refurbished it and redecorated it, they did it with the thought that now people don't want to be around ghosts here at the Mizpah. They can cross the street at the Belvada.
Uh-huh.
But they invited me, and I brought a few friends just before they opened it. And we told them that place is haunted too. And I've had other people go in there subsequently and say, yeah, it's haunted. So the Belvada, the cemetery, the old one you're talking about by the Clown Hotel, the mining park, those are the ones that spring to mind.
Spooky, very spooky.
I'm married to a skeptic. But he helps me on the ghost investigation. And honestly, I believe we have to always be a little skeptical. We can't go in saying, although after you invest more, we do know that, but we can't go in there, okay, I know, so I just know, because maybe this is different dimensions, maybe this is, who knows? So I believe it's important to always be a little bit convinced that you know what you're going to find, that you know that it's a ghost. So basically, if somebody says, oh, I don't believe in ghosts, I say, okay, that's fine. Maybe you will when you encounter one, and let them be.
All right, excellent. So how do you avoid taking your work home with you? Are you able to relax and just be comfortable after you have one of those unsettling experiences?
Well, that's because, I'll be honest with you, I do not believe I don't believe that ghosts are that interested in us, that they're going to follow us home. That's a starter. And I tell people this, what if a ghost follows me home? I always say, well, and I've never been not followed home, knock on wood, but I always say when I'm investigating, you know what, if you follow me home, if you weren't already dead, you'd be bored to death following me home. So I advise you don't do it. And I've never been followed home. I don't. So basically, I just leave that at the front door and step in my door, and here I am, and that's it.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. Now we're going to get into some questions about Mark and Debbie. Talk to us about what first drew you to write about the Constantinos. Because you've written about paranormal activity and darker aspects of human nature before. How did writing Demon Song differ from your previous work?
Well, in some ways, it was harder. I wrote that actually shortly after they died, because the local, I'm assuming other newspaper, the local news was painting such, I thought, an unfair picture of. That's true. Debbie was a victim. That's true. But these people were more than just that. I believe, if you commit a terrible, heinous crime like killing someone, up to that point, you're just like all the rest of us. And then you go into that where you're just not the same. You're not as you were. So they were just, in many ways, just ordinary people. And I wanted people to realize this. You can't just look at these two people and say, he killed her. She was a victim. They were ghost people. And that's what I wanted to show.
Okay. You did an amazing job doing that too, by the way. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. So yeah, basically I wanted to know what prompted you to invite Mark and Debbie to join your ghost hunting team when you were invited to do Mona's Ranch, and you put them on your team, being that they were so new to the ghost hunting world. What drew you to them?
Sherry, I usually go, and most of the time I'm right on, sometimes not, but I usually go by my gut feeling with people. And I was attracted to the fact that they were so sinning to delve into and learn more about the paranormal. And they were getting pretty good EVP. I felt that they were a nice I knew they had a couple of children. They were a nice family. They had he had a home, and so they weren't really flaky. Although a lot of people would assume that for the way they might have appeared, that wasn't true at all. I just genuinely liked them and had a good feeling about them, and thought they would be good to work with.
Okay, all right. Now, in the book, you talk a lot about Debbie's jealousy, and knowing her as you did, what do you think that it stemmed from? In your opinion, did you ever think Mark did anything to give her a reason to react the way that she did?
Are you talking about Debbie's jealousy? Is
Yeah.
that what you mean, Debbie being
Yeah.
jealous?
Yeah.
Debbie's
that
jealousy?
came up a lot in the book.
Okay. I think because it was, I think it was the driving force, and I don't know why. I'm a layperson, but I believe jealousy is actually not. It's a self-doubt. It's a doubt that I'm somehow not good enough. I'm inferior, whatever. So naturally, this person would choose somebody else over me. I believe that's all. It's a self-doubt more than anything else. Debbie was an only child, and from what I gathered, she did not have a good relationship. But I believe it's something that maybe as a child, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah. I thought that it was interesting. It showed Debbie's vulnerable side. I kind of took that too, that maybe she was always searching for validation and feeling a lot of self-doubt or not feeling good enough. So that was an interesting insight to Debbie. So I thought that was really good. Right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the book. All three of us had the opportunity to read it. So yeah, we all talked about offline how much we enjoyed it and how it really pulled us in, and we just couldn't stop reading it. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was the controversy about the EVP recording, the one that Debbie captured at the Goldfield Hotel that really kind of, sent her into stardom, and that you were convinced that the EVP was contaminated by your own voice, and you even had it tested to prove that it was your voice on the recording. Do you think that Debbie really truly believed the EVP was valid, or do you think that she had some desperation for fame that it caused her not to care?
Are you talking about the Goldfield EVP or are you just talking about her EVP in general?
No,
that was the one that you had the controversy with her about, where you were pretty, you had it tested to show that it was your voice that got picked up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was at the Goldfield. It was at the Goldfield when we recorded that. And if when you do recordings, generally if somebody coughs, you say cough or something, I was standing about maybe 3 feet from Debbie, and I was speaking while she was, and I'm saying, let me see now, would you throw something at us like you did, Zach? We know that you didn't mean to hurt anybody. Look what we got. I think we believe what we want to believe. And I think they stand in that when they're talking while you're recording, your EVP is contaminated anyway. I mean, it just is. You start over and tell that person shut up or something. I believe in her heart she knew, but I also believe that maybe she felt that fame maybe might have given her something that she was lacking. I don't know why she had so much going for her. I really don't know. I don't know what all tortured her or anything, but I believe that she looked for fame to fill her, to give her something that she was lacking.
Yeah, and I know that you're the one that connected them with Zach Bagans and other prominent people in the paranormal community. And eventually that led to them being in multiple episodes of different reality TV shows around ghost hunting and paranormal activity. So some people believe, and I believe, that the Constantino's rise to fame in the community was significantly impacted by your introductions. When did you start to notice changes in them and the emergence of their egos? Just talking about fame and how it affects people and how Debbie was searching for something.
I don't know, Sean. I'll just tell you this. When I met Mark and Debbie, they remained this way throughout the remainder of their life. I thought they were a very attractive couple. She had charisma that you would not believe. People, although it was funny because Debbie really, she didn't really like people in general. She wasn't a people person. She really didn't like people. She had a few she would hang around with or didn't mind being close with, but she didn't like people. You could say people are starving and say India. She would say, oh, okay. She wasn't a great people person, humanitarian, you might say. But she had that charisma. She was so cute. And actually, she wore a lot of makeup. She was cuter without her makeup. She was prettier without her makeup than when she put on. But people were drawn to her because she had this effervescence, if you will, this you could see when she spoke that she almost she wanted to learn more. She she wanted to share that with people. So why she and Mark didn't get a TV show, because they had it, especially her. They had whatever you look like. Zach is nice looking, and Zach has charisma, and Zach, they also had that, whatever you say, spark or whatever. They had it.
So in our podcast, we focus more on domestic violence, and we usually focus on cases in Nevada and Las Vegas specifically. So we're curious about the domestic violence aspect of Mark and Debbie's relationship. So how much of that aspect of their relationship do you think was known and, not really talked about, or at least known to their friends in the paranormal community? And
Yeah, John, this is what I think. I think the paranormal community knew. Yeah, they knew.
And so what was
The
what were some of the
paranormal
warning signs
community
that you
knew.
saw? I'm sorry.
But Mark and Debbie, Debbie liked to drink and like to party and drink and party. And like I said, I wasn't in their inner circle after that. She was doing it more often in public when they would do events at places. Debbie was acting ways, and a lot of people, I know right away, if people did not know them, they will say, and
Oh, damn.
Oh, we lost her. All right. Well, hopefully she will come back. While we're waiting for Janice to hopefully come back, let me put her book up, y'all. This book was amazing. It's called Demon Song by Janice Oberding. She wrote the book as an account of her friendship with Mark and Debbie Constantino. She shares a whole lot about all of the adventures they went on. And she really gives a insight to the couple that most people are not privy to. So for the fans of the paranormal community and of Mark and Debbie, you need to get this book. All right, Janice is back, so we're going to welcome her back. Hi, Janice.
Welcome back. So just following up with the domestic violence thing, how early did you see warning signs that there might be some domestic violence going on in their relationship?
Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
is that what you're asking? If there was a warning sign that Mark would do what he did?
Well, I was thinking how early
Okay.
how early on did you see warning signs about domestic violence in their relationship?
Okay. Actually, John, Debbie was the one put the cigarette out on Mark's mark. Debbie was the one that was the abuser. I mean, as far as what I saw, of course, I didn't live 24 people. That's how, as I said, I always know if people really knew Mark and Debbie when they say, well, Mark was blah, blah, blah. They didn't really know Mark and Debbie. If you really knew Mark and Debbie, you would know that Debbie was, from what I saw, was the abuser. Like I said, she would get drunk and stick a cigarette in his face, push him,
Wow.
a lot of things like that. So I guess no, I didn't see it. Nobody else saw it either, that this would happen. I mean, no, I never saw that this would actually happen. I mean, you read about things like that and you hear about it on the news, but you don't actually, when it's right in, you don't really see it. And I guess I hadn't hanged around with them for a couple of years. Like I said, I was kind of, guess you say, out of their inner circle once I questioned that EVP. But yeah, I would have never thought that's how this would end.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we know you also had the opportunity to interview Summer Myers. So What insights can you share with us about your conversation with her? We're specifically wondering if you know anything about Debbie's state of mind in the days leading up to the tragedy.
No, I don't. The truth of it is, I can tell you what I saw, but the truth of it is, I don't want to, and I didn't want this book to appear like, if Mark and Debbie were here, I'm sure they'd tell you something different. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't want to
Of
say,
course.
because they're not here, I want to say something yeah. I don't know Debbie's state of mind. I'm sure she was going through a divorce. She and Mark had been married several years. Uh, she felt that some of her friends in the paranormal, the powerful friends, I guess, friends who could really help her, had turned. Reason they had turned against her is because of her antics. She started to drink too much. She was violent. The least little thing, she wanted to fly off the handle. So they were afraid that she could really sabotage their events and stuff. It's probably she felt like the whole world. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm thinking like the whole world, her world was just upside down. Um, I know that, like I said, Debbie was a very pretty woman, and that was very important to her. Number one is her beauty, how she looked. And I think maybe, even though I know she had had work and stuff, maybe she felt like she wasn't on top of her game then because she was getting older and here was some younger women coming along in the field. I don't really know. And then I've heard rumors, but I don't think I put this in the book because I don't know. I heard rumors that she was doing drugs. I don't know. I wasn't there. When I knew Debbie, she did not do drugs, but people change.
It's true.
It's true. So, the last one I have for you is how did their deaths impact both the paranormal community, sort of emotionally and professionally, and then for you, how did you personally cope with the tragedy? You were very close with them, right? For a while, you were pretty good friends with them.
Well, their death impacted all of us, and anybody who had known them had impacted them. And this is, let me just say this: I've had a lot of psychics and mediums come up to me and say they have a message from Debbie for me. Well, there's a couple of things that only Debbie, Mark, and I knew. Uh, of times we travel. So I always ask the medium or psychic, okay, ask Debbie this question. Now, so far, I haven't got an answer. It's sort of like Houdini, maybe I will.
Right.
But it impacted this. In other words, I had lost a lot of friends because I'm not going to blame totally Mark. What he did was wrong. Obviously, there's no way to make it right. It was wrong.
Of course.
But was he an evil person? No, he did an evil thing. But was he evil? No, he wasn't. Was she evil? No, she wasn't. They were just human beings caught up in something that turned really bad for them. Um, I had friends unfriend me, nothing to do with me, still aren't speaking to me because I chose that stance that I'm not going to go there. I've had friends who actually took photos of Mark and Debbie and cut Mark out of all the pictures. As a historian, I think that is horrible. That's so bad because 100 years from now, 20 years from now, people want to see this and you've cut this person out of here. I've had them say that he was the evil one and they want to change her name. They say she wanted to change her name to something else. I didn't hear that. And I don't really know if I necessarily believe it. It's easy to speak for someone when they're gone. But I will say my book, many of his family members read the book and they liked the book because I tried to be honest of how these people were. It impacted us in that I think it changed. Paranormal, fun and and it's fun, but now we know there's also a dark side. There's a side that when you want to be famous so much that you will forget everything and just go right to it. It changed in that way. It left a indelible, like a darker side. Now I know, and I don't know if Zach would mind me saying it. He might. I don't know. I hope not. But anyway, I know when I did a little something with him, I tried to tell him that he said that he didn't want me to even mention Mark's name. But I said, I believe he's going to be around you until you forgive him for what he did, because you and he were friends too. He did something wrong, and I think he needs your forgiveness. He didn't want me to mention Mark's name, but eventually I ended up mentioning it anyway. So I think there's a lot of anger at Mark still. There's like this thing like Debby was somehow, they elevated her to sainthood. I know that sounds maybe wrong to say, but Debby was a human being just like all the rest of us. And she was a victim, unfortunately, of something very terrible. I mean, I just can't even imagine how her, well, yeah, I can imagine her last moments. I really believe she probably was challenging Mark or provoking him right up to the time he shot her, but I'll never know that. So it changed all of us to a degree. We're not so innocent. Now we know there's a dark side to the paranormal. And I mean, I don't mean demons because I don't believe in demons. I mean humans, our emotions, our feelings. We know that we can be as dark and evil and everything as the demons that we say are out there.
That makes sense. So speaking of change, so how have your views changed on domestic violence? In your book, at the very end of your book, you have all those great resources around domestic violence, which is so great. We share those often too. But how have your views on domestic violence changed as a result of all this?
Well, I think maybe to be more aware. You know, we always put it down, oh, that's Debby and she's drinking. And to be more aware, just, you have to watch more closely. You have to know that this can escalate. You have to not just put, actually, somebody should have maybe tried to intervene and get Debby. And I'm not saying Mark, because we did not see that. Whatever went on, that was something I never saw it. I don't know if his kids ever saw it, but to be more aware of what's going on. It may not be as innocent as it looks to us. I guess that's domestic violence. It's always wrong. And there's nothing we can say to make it right. And I don't care who's involved. It's always wrong. And for every Debby, there's probably a lot of women who aren't famous, who maybe suffer terrible things that the public we're not even aware of because we don't see it.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, what do you want our viewers to know about the Constantinos as people before everything turned dark? And I know you touched on it a little bit, but like, what do you want to leave our viewers with as far as Mark and Debby before everything went really dark?
They were fun-loving, a loving couple. They had wonderful sense of humors. She was an excellent cook, just like, I mean, that's just, you think of everyday life. That's how they were. They were adventuresome, I guess you would say. They wanted to learn more. One thing you've got to say is we always think it couldn't happen to us. That's not true. It could happen to any of us. It could happen. Yes, it could happen to any of us, anyone close to us. We always look and we think, oh, that happened to them. But what happened to Mark and Debby were just like all the rest of us. It could happen to us too.
Yeah,
So true.
absolutely. Well, we appreciate everything that you have shared with us, Janice. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we wanted to definitely highlight their story. I think what made me want to really dive into this, I do reality TV reviews on my channel, and there's always sometimes a dark side to reality TV, to fame within itself. And so when reality TV kind of collided with true crime, of course, I reached out to my resident experts here at Sins and Survivors, the domestic violence piece to it. And then I just want to say that your book, when I was doing my research and reaching out to fans, I think were left with so many questions, kind of like a gaping hole of kind of figure out what happened, what went wrong. I think your book did an amazing job humanizing them, letting us get a little insight to them as a couple. Your friendship was endearing. Y'all's adventures were so interesting, and I couldn't put the book down. So I'm going to put the book back up again, guys.
Oh,
Again, it's Demon Song by Janice Oberding. I got my copy on Amazon, so you can get it on Amazon, read it on Kindle. She has over, like I said, 30 books. I personally read this one and recommend it for all of you fans out there that need some sort of closure. Read this book. It was amazing. She did a great job. And at this point, I want to thank Sean and the one and only John again. I want you to tell our viewers where they can find your podcast, because all of you true crime buffs, you need to be listening. They have some amazing content.
Yeah, so I mean, you can find Sins and Survivors really anywhere you find your podcasts. You can find us on Apple or Spotify or Overcast or really any place. Just search for Sins and Survivors. And
our website is sinsandsurvivors.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads at Sins and Survivors. And our podcast focuses on domestic violence, but we also cover unsolved cases and missing persons. And because we live in Las Vegas and have for 2 decades, we love our city, so we're always looking for stories to talk about that happen right here where we live.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Janice, I would like for you to take this time to also let us know about where we can find you on social media and any events you have coming up. I know you have some things you've got going on this month and beyond. You're a very busy woman. So what can you share with us with what you've got going on coming up?
Well, I've got an event tonight in the cemetery at Carson City, Long Mountain Cemetery. I've got next Saturday, tomorrow book signing at Barnes & Noble. Next Saturday, a ghost hunting class from Virginia City's Ghost. And knock on wood, that might be it all for a few days. But yeah, that's it. And I'm on social media too. And I admin a page, Virginia City. We have 40,000 members. I'm excited about that. If anybody cares about Virginia City, Nevada, it's a pretty cool town. That's what we do. It's all about Virginia City visitors and photos and history and that kind of stuff. And I'm on Instagram and TikTok and X. And so, yeah, I'm on some of them.
Okay. All right. So make sure you go out and listen to, follow, subscribe to Sins and Survivors. Also, make sure that you find Janice Oberding on social medias for all of the amazing history she does. Her books are amazing. And also, if you're interested in the paranormal and ghost hunting, she is the one. So thank you all so much for being with me here on Alleged Actually. You guys, it's been a great episode. And thanks for tuning in. Always like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what you thought about the episode. All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you so much.